Hello, I'm so glad you're here. My name is Heather Bryant. I'm an open channel, an oracle, and a medium, all things that I did not believe in prior to a few years ago when I started receiving psychic downloads for strangers in public. And today I'm going to be covering a couple of things in this video. I have clients that ask sometimes how my channeling compares to tarot card reading or psychics or mediums. And when I've gone online to research what other people are saying and comparing those modalities, I'm not really finding anything that really articulates how it works for me. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing how and when I started channeling, how channeling works for me, what's happening when I'm channeling, what a channeling session with me and my guides is like, and lastly, how you can work with me and my guides if you feel a channeling session is supportive for you, and helping you understand the reasons behind your experiences, even trauma, and recalling your soul's contracts and life blueprint that you co-created before you incarnated. Again, things that I did not believe in prior to being schooled a few years ago. To give you a really quick background to lay the foundation here, when I was a kid, my family went to church, a Christian church. We grew up Christian, and my parents sung in the choir. My dad sometimes wrote musicals, and we were there every Sunday, Wednesday, went to Awanas, did all the youth camps. Sometimes we're there on Saturdays because my parents were in the choir. And I just remember hearing about, this man in the sky, God, that judges humans for their life based on good and bad or decisions you've made. And that when you die, he decides if you go to heaven or hell. That's terrifying for a kid. And I lived a lot of my life in fear because of that, those teachings. And as soon as I could, I stopped going to church. And but always questioned if there was anything else out there, because there was always this feeling that there's got to be something else. But I was terrified of death. I was terrified of what would happen when I die. Do I just go in the ground? Is there a chance I could go to hell? Hell sounds horrible. What is heaven? None of it really fully made sense to me, and nobody could ever really explain it in a way that made sense. And this overwhelming feeling of fear around it all just was confusing. It just was confusing to me. So fast forward, when I was around 19, I started working in corporate America, and I started working for a big bank that I quickly started working my way up the ladder, and I began being very highly sought after and known for transforming teams and territories and whole call centers into top performing sales teams. And not just, I wasn't just recruited to take over the lowest performing sales territories or sales teams, but these teams not only were not performing in sales, their clients were the unhappiest based on client surveys. And the associates themselves were the unhappiest in the company, which makes sense. You're not performing, your clients aren't happy, you're not happy. So I would come in and I would spend some time really, I thought, really analyzing what was going on. But now I know I was really using my, some of my natural gifts that have really come in the last few years. But, and time after time after time, year after year after year, I would transform those teams. I say I was the leader, but the people really transformed through loving support and guidance that I provided. And not only did these teams year after year after year move into the top 2 to 5% of the company, I won many trips and many awards from this. It was really some of the most fun times I've had in my life. It's so rewarding. But not only were they moved in the top 2 to 5% in sales, but their clients were the happiest, the highest client satisfaction based on their survey scores. And they also became the happiest associates, to the point where I was invited to be on the National Associate Satisfaction Board, meaning I would be teaching. I taught other managers and executives how to increase their associates' satisfaction. And how we measured that was through satisfaction with management. So there were certain questions on the survey that they would be asked, and it was directly, are you satisfied with your manager? And my associates were in the top of the company. And over around 2008, the company went through some shifts, and the culture took a drastic turn. It became very, very different. it became one of fear and control. And in around 2018, I had been recruited to take over again one of the lowest performing territories in the country, in all areas. And when I came in to the territory and I did my normal upfront observation, it takes several weeks, many weeks for me to observe. I was managing about 15 banking centers. And so I was traveling around, visiting each one, really feeling out what was going on. I realized this was the most toxic area I had encountered so far. And I immediately could see what was going on. And within a year or so, it had become so toxic. We were being asked to fire minorities erroneously, and push banking products that increased, executives' bonuses, and it was so corrupt. It was so tough. I began publicly standing up against it, and it became tough for me. A career where I had been recruited for the whole my time in that company, I started getting bullied and really pressured, to the point where I had a stroke before I was even 40, in my 30s, in 2018. It was so bad. So there was a lot of pain that was happening within this time for everyone. So as I was publicly standing up against all of this, I was getting pressured to be silent, and I would not be silent. And it became so bad that in August of 2019, I was laying in bed on a Sunday, dreading going to work I would work 6 days a week, lay in bed on Sunday depressed, and go start back over on Monday. And I remember laying there just sick about going to work. And I said out loud, if there's anything out there, if there's anything beyond this, anything that can hear me, please help me. I feel my soul dying. And I never really heard about souls before, but something told me that's what was happening. I just felt like I was dying inside. And immediately things started changing. And I've since learned that we have spirit guides, we have cosmic guides, we have angels that are guiding us in this lifetime. This is not our first lifetime. We've done this many times before, but we choose to forget when we come here. Because can you imagine if you remembered all of the lifetimes you had before, how hard that would be trying to maneuver this one? So we choose to forget when we come. And there's a universal law called the law of non-intervention. And unless we ask for help, we can't receive it. We are given it. Not that our guides and angels don't want to give it, but we have to ask for help. So the second I asked for help came. And what I've learned in many of my clients, many clients, is that when they're off their highest path, I was off of my highest path. I was in a situation that was not ideal, and that's not what I was meant to be living in, that type of turmoil. Then if we don't ask for help, the universe, God, a source, your spirit guides, your higher self will start turning up the heat in certain areas of your life to highly encourage you to make a different decision, right? So for me, it was calling out for help. And once I called out for help, they said, yep, we can go and help. And immediately I started feeling my environment shift. I could feel something change. And within 3 months, in November of 2019, I left corporate banking. That's a big story in its own. There's actually several news articles written about this, but I'm not getting into that in this video. 4 months after that, I was visited by two spirits, two light beings that I call my angels, these bright beings of light that spoke to me for 3.5 hours. And they shared with me that part of my mission and purpose in this lifetime is helping others align to theirs by recalling and channeling their soul contracts and their life blueprint, among other things, to help people align to their highest path, and so beautifully make sense of their experiences and even their trauma and their relationships in this lifetime. And they shared also how to handle the exiting of corporate America. It was so beautiful. Again, I have other videos on that on my website and my YouTube channel that you can check out. But about 9 months after being visited by these two spirit beings, I started getting psychic downloads for strangers in public. which, as you can imagine, was quite shocking. Every time I was with someone when it happened, and I would get a psychic download, and how that works is everything would kind of get shadowed, except for one person would be highlighted, and I would get this information dumped into my heart space, and a lot of information in a split second. And these were intimate things about people that I've never seen before. Each time I approached the person that this happened with, and I would say, I know you don't know me, but I was sitting over there. This just happened. Does this make any sense to you? And every time they would say, how did you know that? And I said, I would say, I don't know. And within months, I was formally channeling, but I didn't know it was happening at first. So what my guides have done is my guides have been, and they still are, they're taking me through school. So as my gifts have started coming in, I haven't taken any courses. No one's taught me how to do this. It just started happening. And I now know that I have many lifetimes of doing this. And part of my mission in this lifetime is bringing these gifts to help the collective. I've had lifetimes of these gifts where I have lived in isolation. In this lifetime, that's not the case. I'm here to share it far and wide. It's a little scary, but nothing brings me more joy than literally nothing than sharing these gifts. So my guides started bringing me books and podcasts and shows to help me understand what was happening. Because not only was I channeling, which I'm going to explain what that is in a minute, but spirits started visiting me. I've even felt spirits that grab me. I realized I'm a medium. I'm channeling, I'm connecting to the conscious grid of the planet. I can connect into anyone's energy at any time and feel what they're feeling. And that has come up in other areas of my life in the past, and I didn't know what was happening. And now I know, because my guides have been taking me to school. So how this works for me, next I want to share how channeling works for me. What happens when I'm channeling is, and my cosmic councils taught me this, is what I call them right now. I'm tapping into the Akashic records for one. The Akashic records, which you can go online and research yourself, but this is my understanding based on what I've been taught, this is the record of all past and present realities and potential future realities based on free will. I am channeling your soul contracts and your soul's life blueprint that you co-created with your guides before you incarnated. Our soul is everlasting. And this is just one act in a very long play that we are here to have an experience for many reasons. One of them is for our soul's evolvement. So our soul desires to learn certain lessons, and to learn those lessons, we co-create soul contracts with people and experiences, even trauma, to help facilitate creating the conditions required to learn those lessons. Many of us, probably most of us, have had many lifetimes of attempting to learn certain lessons that we might not have lived. For instance, this is just one example of many. I have a client, I'll call her Jane, who has experienced massive loss in this lifetime at a very young age. And she's been living in worry for her whole life. She's in her 40s. She's been living in worry her whole life because of this situation. But when I plugged in and I'm channeling, my guides help me access the Akashic records. I'm channeling cosmic beings and also the Akashic records and the cosmic beings that man the Akashic records. It's a whole bunch of beings. But I was shown that she's had many lifetimes of experiencing loss and then giving up and just living her life in barely existing, like in the dark, not wanting to go out, not wanting to live. So her soul is desiring to close that loop, is desiring to learn how to live despite loss in this lifetime. So she co-created with other beautiful souls certain conditions in her childhood to create loss again. And at this time is being asked to wake up to what she came here to do, which is to learn to live despite the loss. So this is an example of someone I'm working with who is learning to close, working to close a soul contract. We either evolve or we repeat. If for instance, Jane repeats in this lifetime, not stepping out of this cycle of worry and learning to heal what needs to be healed, which my guides guide me on all this. If she lives her life in worry and fear, she has to repeat this again in another lifetime. So it's either evolve or repeat. Now that seems really tough to comprehend, but you have to remember, as a soul, We are infinite soul, and these are just little snippets of our experience here. So I'm connecting to the Akashic records. I'm connecting to loved ones. Sometimes loved ones who have passed will pop in with messages. On occasion, I will act as a medium. That's not my chosen modality. It's something that just started happening. So I will do that on occasion. And sometimes spirits have quite a bit of messages to share. I have, you can actually hear this testimony on my website. I channeled for someone whose mother passed unexpectedly, and she had hours of messages, not only for her, but for her children. And then also for, my client's aunt and her cousin and her children. So she had a lot to share and a lot to say. Sometimes they don't have a lot to say, in my experience. They're here for support, or they just have a general message, like to, for instance, sometimes someone who's endured a lot of loss or trauma, a loved one will come in that's been deceased or passed, and they'll say, it's time to let go. It's time to heal. And they will have direction on how to do that. So that is another thing that can happen in a channeling session. And then, like I said, connecting to the universal grid for humans and animals, around what we're here to do, what we're here to experience, our mission and purpose. So that's how kind of channeling works for me. So it's different than, and you can do research on this too, like someone who's reading tarot cards is using the cards to interpret messages. I'm just going straight to the source of the Akashic records, which is, again, all records of all past and present and potential future realities based on your free will. Now, what happens in a channeling session is sometimes I'll have someone come to me and say, I just want general messages. What do I need to know? And the beautiful, beautiful messages that come in are exactly what that person needs to know at that time. They might not have known that's what they needed to know, but every single time I deliver a general message, they say, you have no idea. I was just experiencing this the last few years. That clears it up. Now I know what to do, right? But mostly clients come in with specific questions or a theme. Maybe they want to know about love or career. Usually people have questions about both love or career or relationships or trauma or mission and purpose, starting a new business, health, manifesting abundance or manifesting wealth. Usually it's love, career, relationships, or health. And we don't realize, but things that we think are going to be simple answers, like yes or no answers, or very specific, very simple direction. What my guides have told me and shared with me is that I am here to help create clarity around the whole, the life as a whole, not answer specific questions, because there isn't just answering specific questions. Everything's connected. As an example, I sometimes will channel for someone. This is super fun, it's super light and easy and quick. I'll have people that will say, that are in the dating world and dating field, and they'll say, can you share with me, here's 3 people that I'm thinking I'm going on dates with, and they'll show me 3 pictures of people, and I will plug into their energy and see exactly what they're about. Maybe somebody is very outwardly self-confident, even borderline cocky, but inside there's a lot of trauma they haven't dealt with, and that's why they're coming across cocky. And then maybe someone else is very shy and reserved, but actually they're very, very grounded, and they're very, very spiritual, and that might be a good match. So I can channel quickly that type of information, but usually what comes in is very, very deep and profound, and it's not as simple as, should I take this job or this job? What they'll show me is, what my guides will show me is, if you potential pathways, if you take this job, this is how you'll feel, this is how some of the things that you'll end up experiencing, and then they'll tell me the same for the other jobs. But ultimately what they will end up sharing is more about what your mission and purpose is. So you're asking about these jobs, which job you should take, but ultimately what matters is what's going to align you to your highest path and accomplish the mission, and really live in the purpose that you came here to live. That's the hierarching things that my guides tell me I'm here to facilitate. So what they've taught me, just looking at my notes here, is when somebody comes to me and they have certain questions, like I had a client recently that said, I want to know about love and career. And they said, keep going, ask her more questions, because otherwise, if somebody just wants to know about love and career, a general message will come in. Because they can't interfere with free will, and there's a law of non-intervention, you have to ask you have to address the specific thing that you want to know. Otherwise, they won't share the information. So what they've taught me is to ask, are you open to any and all information that could come in that's related to this topic or other topics that will help you align to your highest path and really answer the questions that your soul is seeking for you to know? And they'll say yes. And then they will nudge me to ask certain questions to further open the door. And so sometimes, as an example, a client who wants to know about love and career, they'll have me to ask further. And the next question is there someone specific? And they'll say, there's two people that I dated. This is an example. I'll call her Jane, my client Jane. Here's two people I've dated in the past. It ended abruptly. I don't know what happened. And then I'm not sure if I should continue in continuing ed with this line of work that I'm in. And what they'll show me is that this is all connected. They show me exactly why each relationship ended. And they'll show me what will happen if what would happen if she continued ed. And the continuing education in her career wasn't the big thing. It was, why was she feeling drawn to that? Because it was aligning to her mission and purpose and what she was here to do, which was so profound. She's here to be in the medical field. This client, Jane, is here to be in the medical field to learn the medical system, but also create and learn alternative medical modalities, like alternate from the Western Medicine Society, and then create blogs and write books about the comparison to help people step into learning how to heal themselves. And the synchronicities of what I channeled and what she shared with me after about what she'd been feeling, what being drawn to, it was absolutely mind-blowing, as it always is. So when I'm channeling, I will ask, are you open to any and all information? And then the information that comes in is so broad and so deep and profound. Even in 1 or 2 sessions, sometimes we can just scratch the surface of what's going on, because they'll want to show me past lives. They'll want to show me things in this life. They'll want to show soul contracts with certain people. Even if it's just a simple question of, what should I do in my career? It's always very multi-layered. All right, let me just see what else is here. So how a session with me works, me and my guides, is that we'll spend the first 20 minutes or so, sometimes longer, depending on how much information. Sometimes the universe tends to bring me people who are truly seeking healing from trauma. That's like 75%. And then the other 25% is truly just, wanting to know answers to questions. But ultimately, as I work with my clients over time, I have clients I've worked with anywhere from 3 months to a year and a half, 2 years. We peel back the onion, peel back the layers of the onion. I'm sure you've heard that before. And every layer we peel gets to the next layer, and the next layer and the next layer, until we get to the bottom and the root of what really your soul is seeking for you to learn, so that you can basically stop repeating patterns in your life that are problematic or painful, and move into your highest path. So we'll spend the first 20 minutes or so talking about what it is that you're looking to learn. My guides will nudge me on the specific questions to ask to get more information. And then what I do is I put on a blindfold, put on earphones, and listen to shamanic drumming, and that quickly connects me into a channel, and I open it up to my guides, and my guides will lead the session, and they will start sharing information from the beginning to start building a picture. So what they say is, it's like, instead of opening the book to the middle of the book and reading some pages and going, what's going on here? They start at the beginning, and they start building on the story of ultimately to help you understand, get answers to what you're here to learn, but to understand where this all started. Because nothing, I would say close to nothing in this lifetime, doesn't have prior life implications. And when you can understand that story from the beginning of why you're experiencing what you're experiencing now, and how it's connected, and who it's connected to, and other players in this life that have played with you before, it will completely blow your mind and create so much clarity around your life and your experiences. After I channel for about 20 or 30 minutes, they'll tell me it's time to take a break. I come out of my channel. I have a conversation with the client about what has come out. Usually it's information they didn't expect. And then we go and we then have a 3-way dialogue about the rest of the information that they're seeking to understand. And at the end of the session, we make the appointment for the next session if they choose to do so. 95% of my clients usually work with me 4 sessions or more because of the amount of information that comes in. It's so life-changing. You can read testimonies from clients that I've worked with all over the globe. Many of them have been in therapy for years, and they've shared with me over and over that just in 1, 2, 3 sessions with me, it's blown 5, 10 years of therapy out of the water, because instead of just talking through the memories of what's happening in your life and eliminate it to this life, we go straight to the root of what's going on, and it incorporates past lives, potential outcomes of future decisions, etc. And it's encapsulates everything into just a handful of sessions versus years and years. So I hope this was helpful. I would love to hear your questions. If you have any questions about this or anything related to this that you want me to channel, or about how this works for me, I would love for you to drop your questions below, and I will channel answers for you. I might pick one or more of the questions to channel for you. And if you want to work with me in my guides, nothing brings me more joy than, honestly, nothing brings me more joy than channeling for people and helping to bring them clarity and healing and guidance to manifest the best life that they possibly can. And to work with me, you can visit my website, which is linked below, and reach out to book a session there. And again, you can send me any other additional questions you have before we book. I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.